Hello art friends, welcome to a new video. I was planning to make a gouache video, but unfortunately my camera, my SD card, went through some hard time and I lost a lot of footage, so this video is going to be about oil painting instead. Particularly solvent-free oil painting for beginners, and also if you have a small space just like I do. I will go through some supplies I've been trying, and I will list all the books and videos, all the resources that I found really helpful. So if you're curious about oil painting but find it intimidating or don't know where to start or whether if you should start, this video is for you. So I really wanted to learn oil painting after the visit to National Gallery last October, after seeing so many amazing masterpieces. So over the past few months, I did a lot of research and gathered a bunch of supplies through Black Friday, Christmas sales, and also my birthday. Now I have 15 colors plus a few different whites, and a bunch of mediums and brushes, etc. These are some pretty basic colors, nothing too funky here. I've got many classic earthy colors like ochre, sienna, oxide, and umbers. And I use winsor yellow, winsor red to replace cadmium colors, and permanent carmine to replace alizarin crimson. The magenta and the purple is just here to expand the color gamut because I love bright pinks and violets. The only paint I absolutely cannot recommend is Holbein's Quick Dry White. I couldn't read the back of the packaging when I ordered it, but it contains petroleum solvent. It smells like gas, so don't get this one. I realized that oil painting needs a few more accessories compared to other medium. I made this still life painting because it's a collection of unexpected things that I didn't know about oil painting, like priming the surface, a device for cleaning the brushes, mediums, and also a huge amount of time. In afterthought, I feel like I should have put in a palette knife in there as well. So it's not just paint tubes and brushes like I imagined. It's a bit more complicated on the chemistry side of things. That being said, I actually found oil painting very, very easy. It's for sure easier than watercolor and gouache. Once you have established the setup and routine, the painting process is actually surprisingly uncomplicated. Of course, it can be very complicated, depends on what the artist wants. And I'll explain why I found it to be easier than gouache and watercolor. But first I want to show you all my other supplies. So to store paint, I used this ice cube tray that came with a mini fridge. I washed it in the dishwasher, so the coating is a bit damaged, but it's fine. It's airtight and can go into the freezer, so it works great. Putting oil paint in the freezer will slow down the drying time, so I store this in the freezer when I'm not painting. The white paint here is a small tube of water mixable oil. I tried a small sample size water mixable oil a few years back. I thought I could get away with cleaning my brushes with just water, but no, that didn't end well. So this time I'm gonna learn the proper way. Since I live in a very small apartment, I paint in the corner of my kitchen and I have a cat that loves to jump on the desk. Solvent-free is a must. I have probably watched every video on YouTube about solvent-free oil painting. A lot of people use Gamsol. I would love to try it, but when I tried to order it from Jackson's Art, there is a hefty £50 shipping fee for hazardous goods. Same with the lavender spike oil or citrus essence oil from Chelsea Classical Studio. There's no way I'm paying for that, so I was left with two other options. Sennelier's green for oil paint thinner, and Michael Harding has a solvent-free turpentine. For now, I'm just choosing the cheaper one of the two. But I found out that this product still come with some health warnings, and I can still feel it in my airway. It's hard to explain, it kind of feels a little bit like nail polish remover. It's almost odorless, it has a very slight smell, like a combination of vegetation and hospital, I don't know. But I can still feel that slight irritation that feels very similar to nail polish remover. So I don't feel like painting with the jar open in my room, and I also have to keep a window open. Right now, I only use this to thorough clean at the end of the day, and only for those really stiff, bristly brushes. And I keep the window open while doing that. When I looked into some other options, oil apparently works great for cleaning brushes. I saw some artists using linseed oil, walnut oil, and safflower oil to clean their brushes. Here I have a sample-sized walnut oil from mgraham. It says on the packaging it's a great brush cleaner preferred by 15th century artists, blah blah blah. Since I don't have another brush cleaner jar, I'm gonna make one myself. Here I got some parts from a broken French coffee press and an empty glass jar. This white plastic thing is from the lid of the same coffee press. I'm putting it in the jar as a base for the cleaner, so the dirty paint particles can sink to the bottom. Right now I only have a very small amount of oil, so I'm using a more shallow jar for now. This one used to be for herb salt, but yeah, it gives more space to soak the bristles in there. I'm really happy that I can keep this open the whole time while I'm painting. It doesn't smell anything at all, just a little bit like walnut. When I'm done painting, I can just close it and keep it on my desk. The dirty paint will sink to the bottom overnight, and I can reuse this until it's too murky and dirty. Then I can pour it together with other dirty oil and send the jar to the local waste center. I'm not so sure how long this will last me, maybe a month or so. Depends on how much I paint, I don't know yet. I heard people mention that walnut oil can go rancid very fast. I don't know about that either, but I will keep you guys updated. If it does go rancid very quickly, I will try refined safflower oil instead. After the painting session or at the end of the day, I will wash the brushes with a brush soap. Mine is from Raphael. This is how it looks like when it's new. I used it for like 3 years for my watercolor brushes. I don't think I'll continue buying this one though. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't like cleaning product or cosmetic product to smell like food. And this soap, it kind of smells like honey or sweet milk or something. I don't really like that. So when I'm finished with this one, I'm gonna try the Master's Choice brush cleaner. I like that it comes with its own container, like a tub. Another issue that comes with solvent-free oil painting is how to dilute the paint for underpainting. I don't have the perfect solution yet. I can use the green for oil thinner, but it still takes a long time for it to dry. For this painting, I used Yupo paper. For the underpainting, I used water mixable oil. I could also use acrylics, so that's an option, but I'm still looking for better solutions. One thing I really want to try is watercolor ground. I wonder if I can paint oil over that. If that's possible, I could paint watercolor for the underpainting and then paint oil on top of that. So that would be something fun to try. So that's the solvent-free part. Now we can take a look at the rest of the stuff. So on my desk, this is where I keep my most frequently used palettes, my watercolor, gouache, and my iPad. For mixing oil paints, I use this glass frame. It's basically just a piece of glass with a piece of cardboard clipped on the back. It's very lightweight and cheap. So far, it works great for me. I have a separate palette for water mixable oils. This one is sealed on all the sides. I made this palette following Emily Hughes' tutorial a few years back, but now I discovered that I prefer a white palette instead of gray. So I just use this palette for water mixable oils for underpainting. And since I don't use this one as often, I just hang it up on the wall. Moving on to brushes. I'm still in the process of discovering my favorite brushes. Rosemary and Co, they have a huge range of brushes. I tried some of them and I really love their softer synthetic brushes. Not just because the marks they make, they have such a pleasant hand feel and they cling really, really well. And I've also been loving the angular brush. I love the blockiness and they're also really versatile. So that's my current preference. For most of the detail part of this painting, I used the evergreen 1/2 inch angular brush. It's really easy to get a lot of paint on the brush. This brush is soft enough to clean really well, but also stiff enough to mix paint. It just feels really great. But I try not to mix too much with the brush. I learned that it's much better to mix a paint with palette knife, or at least the first few piles of paint should be mixed by a palette knife. And I guess this is partially because I have no teacher. I learned everything on the internet. I wasn't aware that palette knife can be really soft and also really stiff. So back then, when I first got my water mixable oil, I tried to mix a color with a really stiff, really hard palette knife, and it just didn't make sense to me. So now I'm really happy that I found a softer palette knife. It saved me from a lot of frustration. To clean the palette, I use a metal scraper. You can also dip your paper towel into some paint thinner and give it a wipe down. The paper towels and rags, when they're soaked with linseed oil, walnut oil, they might spontaneously catch on fire. So check your local waste center to see how you can safely dispose them. I put my dirty rags under the water to get them really soaked. Then I put them in a separate trash can with lid and also some water in it. And after a few days, they can be disposed. This is what I learned from the Swedish Fire Protection Association. But I'm sure there are better practices out there. I'm still learning and trying out what suits me best. And last, I have 2 or 3 items I would like to have in the future. The first one being a moss stick. I can totally see the reason why many artists use them. There were so many occasions throughout the painting process where I really felt like I want something to support my hand so I can make a more steady mark. And I would also like to have either a push-out box or an easel so that I can paint standing up. That's a kind of investment that needs a lot of research. Right now, I'm satisfied with my little table easel. So far, I found the experience of painting with oil extremely pleasant. It's surprisingly easy. It's a lot easier to control compared to watercolor. The paint, the colors, they will never go anywhere that you don't tell it to go. And it's also so easy to correct mistakes. And the reason I found it to be easier and more pleasant than gouache is because it's so patient. Like it would never dry within minutes. Nothing really dries within a day or two. So after I mix the paint and load my brush with the paint, I can really take a few minutes to plan my brush stroke, to think about what mark I want to make. And I never need to rush this thinking process. And the consistency of the paint on paper, on canvas, or on the palette, none of them are going to change consistency. They'll just patiently wait there for me to make the decision. And that's why I feel so relaxed. I feel really settled in the flow state. I can also break my painting process into smaller chunks. For example, I can mix a color first, take a break and come back and paint. It's such a flexible medium. I really wish that I have discovered this earlier. By the way, if you're curious, this reference photo is from Downton Abbey. I am a huge fan of Downton Abbey, especially their lighting and color theme. I feel like there's so many frames throughout the series. They already kind of look like a John Singer Sargent painting. Like the composition and everything. I really love it. So I'm going to make more studies like this, not just from Downton Abbey, but other period drama like Pride and Prejudice and Jane Eyre. There are so many beautiful movies that I can learn from. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I'm also planning to do some copy studies from lesser known artists from the past. I recently discovered a lot of Scandinavian artists. I'm really excited to study their work and also share what I can learn from the process. I think that's all I have to say for today's video. I hope it can take away some mysteriousness about oil painting. I will leave you to watch the rest of the painting process, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.